Howdy, students. Today our lesson is going to be about compare and contrasting two informational texts. Before we get started, I want to remind you that we have been working in a unit called Past, Present, and Future. And our essential question that we're thinking about is, why is the past important? Take a moment and talk to a stuffy, a pet, or a human about why you think the past is important. Go ahead and pause the video. All right, so we are going to be looking at two different stories. When you compare and contrast, you take two different things and you talk about how they are similar and how they are different. Today we're going to look, our things that we're comparing are two stories, School Days and the story of the White House. Now, the chart that we're going to be using to record some of these things in looks like this. Compare and contrast charts can look different. In class, you might remember that we would draw circles and the two circles would overlap each other. Today, we're going to be using a chart that has three columns. The columns that say the story of the White House and School Days, those columns are where we're only going to write what happened in those texts. And in the middle, we are going to write things that refer to both of the texts. So let's get started. When I think about these two texts, I see that they are both informational texts about the past. I know that some things about informational texts about the past, such as they often include photographs to show the time period. And I see that both the story of the White House, as you can see on this page, has some photographs, and that School Days also has photographs. So this is something that I can put in the both text column of the chart. So let's go ahead and type that. Photographs. Great. Now let's go back. So something else about both of these texts is that they're both informational texts. Now, although they are both informational texts, and we can also put that in our chart, let's add that. Let's make this a little bit bigger so we can still see it. Now, although they are both informational texts, the author presents the information differently. Now let's go back to the story of the White House. In the story of the White House, there is a timeline. But in School Days, there is no timeline. So I'm not going to list the timeline in the third column of my chart. I'm going to list that only underneath the story of the White House. So let's go ahead and do that. Another way the texts are different is that the photographs in School Days, let's go back to School Days, they have captions. All of them have captions. But in the story of the White House, they don't have captions. So I can list that under School Days as a unique detail that only this story has. Captions under photos. All right, students. So as you proceed on your own, I would like you to think about a few questions. I'm going to read those questions to you. Do both texts give true information? How do you know? Are the main topics of the two texts the same? Why or why not? Just a side note, the main topic means what they're all about. So remember, this is called School Days. And in this text, they talk about what schools were like long ago and what schools are like now and what they might be like in the future. The story of the White House talks about the White House where the president lives long ago, what it was like not that long ago, and what it's like in modern times. So you have to ask yourself, are they the same two topics? Next question. What ideas can you find in both texts? Okay, I have a few more extra questions that if you want to try to answer and see if those are things that are the same and we would list in both texts, or if they are different and we would put underneath each individual story. So do either of the texts use headings? Let me kind of scroll back through here. Do either of the texts use headings? How do the two texts use dates to help the readers know when events happened? So as I see up here, I see a sentence that says in the 1800s, many schools. And then over here in the story of the White House, I see in 1791, George Washington chose the land for the new White House. And there are some other dates that you can see in here. How does the author of School Days organize the text? How does the author of the story of the White House organize the text? Now, you can make your own comparison chart like this at home if you would like. You can just have a conversation with a stuffy, a pet, or a human about some of the questions that I've asked. My suggestion would be going back through the video, pausing after I ask a question, and then as I'm flipping through the pages throughout the video, you can pause to read what's on the pages. You can also log into your Clever account, which I would be happy to help you with, and you would have access to these stories and you could have them read to you. I also have a couple of videos where I read these stories, so if you want to go back to those and use those, that would be great too. All right, friends. So thank you so much. Have a good weekend. I'll catch you in another video next week.